Withered Foxy is the same Foxy from FNAF 1. Five Nights at Freddy's 2 is the original Foxy from Five Nights at Freddy's 1, although he's in a further state of disrepair. Now, so many people in the comments told me this cannot be the case, this cannot be true, or can it? I mean, Fazbear Entertainment directly tells us in a newspaper clipping that they scrapped the toy animatronics but keep the old animatronic bots. But if that was the case, why did the animatronics then look so different? The withered animatronics to the FNAF 1 animatronics. Some of them have completely different designs. Take Chica, for example. In FNAF 2, she has a massive hinged jaw as the withered version, and in FNAF 1, her design is completely different. So you might be asking the question, how can they be the same animatronic then? Well, don't worry, I'm going to explain all that in today's video, and believe you me, you're not going to want to miss a single bit of this.
Welcome to Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, a magical place for kids and grown-ups alike.
Now, like I said, the newspaper clipping at the end of FNAF 2 tells us that the toy animatronics were scrapped and they kept the withered versions, thus confirming already that they kept them for the OG location in 1993. But that doesn't add up because some of the designs are completely different. And just comparing the animatronics themselves, look at Foxy, completely different jawline, has 3 toes where the old one only has 2. Freddy, completely different jawline again, different eyes. I've already mentioned Chica, with Bonnie really being the only one which looks kinda similar, granted he's missing his face. So you might be thinking then, how in the world can these animatronics from FNAF 2 be the ones in FNAF 1? And that's what people were saying in my other video, but let's look at the evidence then. Now, Phone Guy in FNAF 2 on night 2 tells us that the withered animatronics were actually upgraded with an advanced technology.
The idea at first was to repair them. They even started retrofitting them with some of the newer technology. But they were just so ugly, you know?
So that would have meant that they'd opened up the old casing and upgraded them somehow. And if they did that, they would have found the victims from the original 1985 MCI, right? Because the kids' bodies from the original MCI were in the original animatronics. So if Fazbear Entertainment did upgrade these animatronics like they said they did from the Phone Guy, they would have opened them up and seen the kids' bodies inside of them. They would have had to remove these kids' bodies. This makes sense as why Phone Guy says they smell, etc. in FNAF 2. But it doesn't answer the question of how they were redesigned and completely different looking for the FNAF 1 location. Now, before we go any further, I'd also like to point out that the Withereds from FNAF 2 come from the OG restaurant before FNAF 2, the original Fredbear's Family Diner. Because if you remember, they actually retire Spring Bonnie and Fredbear and replace them with the Fredbear's Family Diner crew, Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, etc. But I bet you guys watching this video, as a hardcore FNAF fan, you already know this, but I just wanted to make sure. A possible solution as to how they're the same animatronics could be that they just simply changed the casing, right? It'd be as simple as taking off the casing and putting on new ones on top of an endoskeleton. But that isn't even the case either, because if you look at the endoskeletons, they're completely different. You only just got to look at the mouth of Chica to tell you this. But if they change the endoskeleton, wouldn't that then mean that the old animatronics endoskeletons, the ones which are haunted, would no longer be in the 1993 Freddy because they completely changed it? These animatronics then wouldn't be haunted, so that doesn't make sense. So if they replaced the endos, replaced the casing, they wouldn't be haunted, right? So that cannot be the case because we know the 1993 FNAF 1 animatronics are still haunted with the kids' spirit, so they cannot be new endoskeletons at all. And further to this, in FNAF 1, Phone Guy actually says himself that they've been singing the same song for 20 years.
If I were forced to sing those same stupid songs for 20 years and I never got a bath, I'd probably be a bit irritable at night too.
Now, one could simply say that's just their programming. Every animatronic could be programmed to sing that song, and hence why it would be the same song for 20 years, whether they played it in a new animatronic or an old animatronic. But he further goes on to explain that they are stinky, smelly, need a bath, he says, literally telling us that these are the OG animatronics. But then how does that line up with them looking completely different from FNAF 2? Because literally everything is telling us that these are completely different endoskeletons, completely different casing, completely different animatronics, right? But the game is telling us that they're the same ones. We have Phone Guy, the newspaper clipping, the kid's soul still being inside of them. There is a possible explanation we haven't explored yet. Now, if we look at the FNAF 2 designs, you can clearly see them big kid chomping jaws because they were from the OG Fredbear's Family Diner, right? You know, where the Bite of 83 happened.
The name of the place was Fredbear's Family Diner or something like that.
Hence why Chica has a massive jaw, so does Foxy, so does Freddy. These animatronics were the original kid chompers. Well, not all of them, but looking at the design, any potential customer which knew the history of Fredbear's Family Diner wouldn't want to go anywhere near an animatronic which looks like it could attack or maim a young child, or at least be able to fit their head inside of its mouth.
For me, boys and girls, my friend and I will put on a great big show just for you.
So Fazbear Entertainment probably decided to baby-proof their animatronics. We all know how that turned out, but at least they were trying to restore their public image. So changing the jaw makes sense, but in some of them they've completely changed the design. Foxy's legs, Chica's arms, feet, etc. So if they changed the endoskeleton, how would they still be haunted?
I have seen everything.
Well, all the evidence points to the fact that they didn't completely change every single part of the endoskeleton. And this happens throughout FNAF, we've seen it. I mean, Roxy has a redesign, and they explain that in-game in Help Wanted 2, where they just replace her mask. It's a common thing that they replace parts of these animatronics. They have a parts and service. So chances are, they actually replaced specific parts, but kept the main frame of the endoskeleton, and in doing so, kept the kid's spirits inside of it. But this does mean there's a huge darkness about this entire theory. Fazbear Entertainment, upon retrofitting the OG animatronics, either during or after the events of FNAF 2, would have discovered the children's bodies inside of them. Now, you would have thought that they would have actually reported this to the authorities, but no, they won't. The actual contract in Fazbear Entertainment is for employees only to report deaths, not children which are missing.
Upon discovering that damage or death has occurred, a missing person report will be filed within 90 days or as soon as property and premises have been thoroughly cleaned and bleached and the carpets have been replaced. Blah, blah, blah.
It all starts to make sense now. They wouldn't report the kids' deaths, they wouldn't get in trouble, they just literally discard the kids' bodies somewhere. But they weren't counting on the fact that these animatronics were gonna keep the kids' souls inside of them. Sure, they might have changed a leg, a mouth, whatever, a casing, but the kids' souls were bound to the main part of the animatronic and endoskeleton. Fazbear Entertainment didn't know that anyway. The only person who did was William, and we know he comes back in 1993 to take some of the parts and decommission the now refurbished animatronics. Now for me, that's a completely different story. It does feature in my timeline, however, if you want to go and watch that after this. It all started way back in the early 1970s, where William met a man named Henry Emily. And I mean, Fazbear Entertainment love cutting costs. They're all about saving money. So they had to repurpose and use the endoskeletons, although they couldn't completely keep them because they had them horrible kid-crunching mouths. So they just basically baby-proofed them and moved on, thinking everything would be fine. And we all know how that turned out. I'd also like to point out that when I was doing research for this video, I came across someone doing a similar topic, although their video consisted of the Mimic being in 1993's location and how the Withereds were featured with that. I would recommend checking it out at some point because it's definitely worth a watch. And it's always good to have a different perspective on things. Hope you've enjoyed today's video. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe for plenty more content like this coming up on the channel. You're not going to want to miss it. Hit the bell icon so you never miss a video. I'm Twisted from Twisted Animatronic. Stay safe out there, superstars.